So let's talk about the executive department. Okay, so when we speak of executive department, this particularly refers to, of course, the president of the Philippines and his alter egos, which would constitute his cabinet secretaries. Okay, now let's go back a little bit. Remember that in the discussion as to what are the different kinds forms of government, we have this distinction between a presidential system and a parliamentary system, diba? So when we speak of presidential system, this is more or less the model used by traditional republic states. So you have a president and would have, and aside from the president, you have this cabinet secretaries who report to them. But also we have to distinguish this with the concept of a parliamentary system. Now, in a parliamentary system, there is a fusion between the executive and the legislative branch. So when we speak of a fusion, the people will vote on the people will vote on the on the representatives would, or what would be called as members of parliament. Okay, so of course we have this parliament when we comes to a parliamentary system. So then when we speak of, okay, so then we have this, of course we have this parliament. So the parliament will be elected by the people at large. Okay, now of course this would depend on who which party in the election would stand out as having a majority. The party who would have a majority would now be able, under the law, to create their own government. So when we speak of creating a own government, they're going to choose the prime minister. So your prime minister would be your head, your officially your executor, or what would be your executive department. Now, of course, there is a fusion because, of course, the selection of the prime minister would be with the parliament or the legislature. Then the prime minister would choose cabinet members, quote unquote cabinet members, because of course in the parliamentary system we speak of the concept of, what do you call this, ministers. So when we speak of ministers, okay, when we speak of ministers, these are members of the parliament. Now the cabinet would compose of ministers. So if you can recall our adventure with the 1973 Constitution, after from 19 around 1978 to until the start, until the, you call this, until the ratification of the 1987 Constitution, there was a shift of calling cabinet members as ministers. So you might hear before there is a Minister of Education, Minister of Foreign Affairs, because there was a change from a presidential to a parliamentary system. Now after the 1987 Constitution, everything was reverted back to the presidential system. So presidential appoint their cabinet. Okay, so all right, so let's go to the qualifications. Okay, so of course when we speak of qualifications under the Constitution, okay, so when we speak of when we speak of qualifications, okay, under the Constitution, because this refers to the president and vice president. Okay, so when we speak of qualifications, these are the minimum requirements for someone to run into public office. Okay, so what is stated in the Constitution? So according to Article 7, Section 2 of the Constitution, no person may be elected president unless he's a natural born citizen of the Philippines, a registered voter, should be able to read and write, at least 40 years of age on the day of the election, and a resident of the Philippines at least 10 years immediately preceding such election. Then the requirements would be the same as to the vice president. Okay, so that they're the same as to qualifications. Okay, now the question now is, and I think you just have to note this as we speak right now in 2024, because the question is, are these qualifications limited qualifications, because if you're going to read at section 2 and also section 3, this refers to standing qualifications under the Constitution. Okay. Now, there is a kind of a modification of this, and I think this is kind of confusing right now. I think the Supreme Court should clarify on this pending an actual case. Okay. I don't see it as a problem, but I think it's going to be a future constitutional challenge. What am I talking about? So, remember that we have Section 2 and Section 3. So, these are your standing qualifications. But we have to note the decision of the Supreme Court in Buenafe versus Comelec. So, if you can recall Buenafe versus Comelec, in the middle of the 2022 election, Buenafe and other petitioners tried to question the qualifications of our incumbent president to run, because allegedly the current president at the time of the campaign has this supposed conviction for a crime involving moral turpitude. So in order to buttress that point that the then candidate our president was then a candidate should be disqualified, they cited Section 12 in relation to, I think, Section 68 of the Omnibus Election Code. But let's concentrate on Section 12. Remember that in Section 12, because there is a list there that if a candidate has been convicted of a crime involving moral turpitude, okay, the candidate would be disqualified from office. Okay, all right. The problem is this. Okay, if you read the case of Buenafe versus Comelec, the Supreme Court did not pass or did not make any discussion on the qualification of then candidate President BBM. Okay, although it was mentioned a bit by the Council of BBM at the time, it would appear that the Supreme Court did not touch that issue and concentrated more on the moral turpitude aspect of the case. So what the Supreme Court did in Buenafe was they emphasized the discussion that tax evasion, the failure to file his tax returns or something like that is something which is not a crime involving moral turpitude. So they emphasized on that. On that aspect that the allegation of non-filing of ITRs is not necessarily, although it's a quote-unquote crime because there was a payment of the fine, and I think there's no execution yet, if I can recall it correctly, that in that case. But nonetheless, the Supreme Court kind of discussed more on the moral turpitude aspect. Actually, it's a little bit more detailed, okay? But they did not answer. Of course, you may say it's implied because they applied Section 12. It appears that they applied Section 12 because they discuss on whether or not BBM has committed the crime involving moral turpitude. But I think this approach leads to more questions now, because my issue here is, of course, another conflict on normative consistency in the application of constitutional provisions. Why? If you can recall your legislative department, if you can recall the case of Makera versus Bora, and later on Social Justice Society versus Dangerous Drugs Board, diba? If you can recall those cases, the Supreme Court stated that additional constitutional qualifications are not allowed, especially if it's not listed there. Remember, in Makera versus Bora, the law imposing property requirements on candidates was declared unconstitutional because it's not part of qualifications or standing qualifications under the then 1935 Constitution. Same goes to SJS versus Dangerous Drugs Board. Although the particular provision in your RA 9165 requires mandatory drug testing on candidates, the same was struck down, particularly with the Senate, because if you can recall, one of the petitioners there in SJS, a second petitioner then is the late Aquilino Pimentel Jr. So he questioned that he was the one who questioned that as unconstitutional, and the court granted his prayer. That particular requirement of RA 9165 was declared as unconstitutional because it adds up to qualification that's already fixed by the Constitution. Okay? Now, the next question now is, are you going to apply that with respect to your with respect to the legislative department? You cannot also apply this to Article 7 on presidents and on the president and the vice president. Isn't it that if you're going to follow the doctrine in Buena Fe, you cannot question the qualifications of senators, and you're going to depart now on the doctrines established by Makera and in the Makera and the SJS versus DDB cases, diba? So now you can now invoke Section 12 with respect to senators and and members of the House of Representatives, or even party list representatives, diba? So I think there is an inconsistency. I think if there would be an actual case, I think the Supreme Court ought to at least revisit this, because it's going to create a different. Although, well, I can see that when we speak of Omnibus Election Code, remember that the Omnibus Election Code was enacted in 1985, at the time that the system was still a parliamentary system. But note that if you read all of your provisions in your constitution, diba? Wala naman nakalagay doon na as provided by law, diba? So your article, yung provisions mo sa Article 6 on qualifications of congressmen and senators, wala naman nakalagay as provided by law, diba? Ganito din naman sa Section 2, Article 7. There's nothing that indicates that there should be additional qualifications as provided by law. Also, the United States, of course, we can always go back to the United States Constitution, okay? Of course, insofar as the United States Constitution is concerned, we have a similar requirement. There's just a difference on the residency requirement, and I think the age, because in the United States you can run when you are 35 years old already. Here kasi 40 years old ang requirement. Sa America, 35 years old. But it's the same qualifications. If we're going to go back to I think the Federalist, or those opinions written by the framers of their constitution, sila James Madison, sila Jefferson. If you can recall, that was designed, okay, the wordings of that was designed for that, to fulfill that essential reasoning of having yung equal opportunities natin for public service. So kung sa constitutional construct natin yan sa 1987 Constitution, the way it was drafted, the provisions itself, it is to encourage anyone from running. So actually, there would be some commentaries from the United States that, well, nangyari na nga eh, 'di ba? So nangyari na nga. Well, the opinion is even a lunatic or even an ex-convict can run as president of the United States. Okay? So in theory, yun ang sinasabi. In theory, even ex-convict or even a lunatic can run. So, kung lunatic ang pinag-uusapan natin, bahala na kayo mag-isip. Hindi naman ako magsasabi kung sino yung lunatic. Pero, malay mo, nangyari na nga eh, di ba? So, then, minsan naman, medyo serious incapacity na, di ba? Di ba? It's, but the point is, the rationale there is, it is for everyone to to run as president. Kaya napapansin niyo pinagtatawanan natin yung mga tumatakbo pag ganito ngayon, 'di ba, no, Senate nitong filing ng COC, 'di ba, ng senador. 'Di ba? Marami tayong nakikita yung mga tumatakbo, gustong gumawa ng mga fortress shield, tapos kausap niya raw yung Diyos, tapos diligawan daw niya yung isang senador, ayaw niya na raw kay Chris, di ba daw? Di ba? May mga ganong may ganong mga mga tumatakbong mga loony-loonies. Pero syempre, alam naman natin, syempre, we are equally, of course, while we are laughing at the crackpots, of course, we are criticizing certain candidates from running because they wanted to, well, they just felt that they want to run for public service, they wanted to have a learning experience. Of course, the negative is just being emphasized. Because, ba't ba ganyan ang design ng ating system, be it sa senator, sa congressman, or even sa president ng Pilipinas? Of course, babalik ka dun sa equal opportunities to public service. Okay? Kasi, let's say, a senator is allowed, let's say, in an ideal situation, let's not talk about artists. When we speak of an ideal situation, like for example, a farmer, diba? A farmer, we would assume a farmer is not able to read and write, okay? So, but of course, a farmer has knowledge of farming, diba? So, now, syempre, if you're going to place a farmer as a representative, okay, you'll be able to carry on the advocacy of farmers, di ba? Which is essentially, yun naman ang purpose talaga, bakit lose ang qualifications yan. And of course, to also go back a little bit, yung pagkakalusbig, yung sa party list system din natin. Now, of course, the current issue now is there a perceived abuse? Yun na naman ang nangyayari. Kasi, number one, truth be told, nagiginang popularity contest ang election, which is totoo naman talaga. I mean, election naman is always a popularity contest. We're not going to dispute that. Ay kasama naman talaga 'yan. But of course, the next question now is, are the voters mature enough? Now, I think the onus now would now fall on the sovereign Filipino people, di ba? So, yun yung onus niya. Are the sovereign Filipino people intelligent enough to make intelligent choices? Diba? But, of course, alam naman natin yung sagot ngayon sa tanong na yan. Kasi, well, mukhang hindi. Diba? But, sa ganong aspect, I hope that it's just, I think, a phase. Because, I think naman, most countries naman, if you read the histories of countries, these problems also arise when they are new countries, di ba? If they identify themselves as a country or a state, they usually have these early problems. I think naman, insofar as the Philippines is concerned, we're still, quote-unquote, young as a country, despite the fact that we're colonized for 300 years by the Spaniards and later on by the Americans. But I think insofar as we as a country is concerned, we are still that young. Okay? So, there might be still adjustments. Of course, adjustments may really come over time. Siyempre, marami external factors yan, like political will, tapos international pressure is also another way to compel. Kasi for example, of course, our issue naman lagi is corruption, diba, sa ating government. But of course, if other states would compel us to comply with of our international obligations in complying with dealing against corrupt practices, diba? It might be a way to prevent or to at least encourage, lessen. Now, of course, the issue now is, do we see the results? May mga results naman, of course, mas na-amplify lang syempre yung negative, okay? Which is, marami pa rin naman kasi talaga, okay? But I think, well, there is still hope pa rin naman. We just hope that, voters would try to mature every time. Yun na lang, I just hope also that they would not sell their future, di ba? Kasi yun naman na nangyayari, di ba? Sabi nga nung isang, when I had an interview, di ba, usually malapit sa kalamnan lagi ang nagiging dahilan. Bakit? They try to sell their votes, di ba? Siyempre, hindi lang nila naiisip na if they're going to vote wisely, yung nakukuha lang nila ng every 3 years, makukuha naman nila yun regularly, di ba? So, yun yung doon. So, that's the bane there. So, pero yun nga, going back to the qualifications itself, okay? Hindi siya clear, okay? Kailangan I think the Supreme Court should revisit this in a related case in the future, okay? Kasi lumalabas diyan, I get it that the COMELEC wants to sometimes stop mga nuisance candidates and all of that, di ba? But of course, the issue now is how is this going to be reconciled? Okay, kasi lumalabas parang hindi siya consistent dun sa qualification sa Article 6 on congressmen, okay, and senators, okay? So, I think this has to be a little bit fixed, okay? So, all right. Okay, so we now go to, of course, qualifications. Okay, so we've done with the concept of qualifications. So let's. So of course, assumption of office. Of course, after election. Okay, so siya mag-elect tayo every presidential election year ng president. Okay, so the term would be 6 years. Okay, and the president is not able to run for another term as president if you serve as president. But note that it is without prejudice to the president running for another position. I think there is, although wala naman challenge sa Constitution, pero wala namang, I think there's no express ban. That's why we see the former President GMA running as congressman, and of course, former President Duterte now running as mayor of Davao. Diba? So, no one's stopping anyone from a former president, di ba? I think the problem is, well, ang problem kasi, not necessarily, a problem or I think the missing thing, okay? The missing thing about, kasi sa laws natin is, wala kasing although, alam mo may pension yung mga yan, pero wala kasing law on, wala kasing law on, particularly on the president. Unlike kasi sa Amerika, the US has a law on former presidents. As in sa kasi sa Amerika, once you become a president, kahit isang term lang, entitled ka na to Secret Service until forever. Tapos may pension na siya forever. Meron na siyang pension na a little bit higher than most of the other salaries. Kasi of course ang rationale kasi dun is kita nyo naman sa mga presidente ng Amerika. Meron yan parang mga pictures, 'di ba? Like Obama, when he became president 2008, nung tapos na yung term niya, puti na buhok niya eh. Si Trump, orange pa rin buhok niya forever. Pero si Biden, 'di ba? He's kini-question yung mental faculties niya. Nung una, coherent pa siya nung una, tapos ngayon parang yung mga enemies is attacking him as already kind of incapacitated already, di ba? So yun yung wala kasi tayong ganun wala kasi tayong ganun. Si Trump lang naman kasi ewan ko ba, nag-desire siya tumakbo ulit kahit siguro may sabi naman niya mayaman daw siya, so whatever, di ba? So that's the there. So that's the point there, di ba? Yung wala kasing so tumatakbo pa rin yung iba because parang yung security nila, di ba? Parang wala security on their retirement kasi dito ang mga presidente. Okay? That's why iba tumatakbo, di ba? Ulit, okay? Although syempre naman kung yung iba naman nakakapagod naman din talaga maging presidente, di ba? I mean, kahit sabihin mong you're doing your job, then syempre may criticisms, minsan yung mga criticisms may be low blow, 'di ba? Mga low blow yung criticisms. It's part of of their the public service or yung role nila as the chief executive. Of course, the vice president naman, ang qualifications naman ng vice president is the vice president can run twice. Okay, so ang president can only run once. But the president can run twice as vice president. Okay, so may option si vice president na, example, gusto niya, sinasabi kasi nila spare tire lang ang vice president. Well, reality naman, oo. Totoo naman talaga yun. Spare tire lang naman talaga ang vice president by legal parlance. Okay? But syempre, may option din ng presidente na bigyan siya ng cabinet position. So it's also indicated in your constitution. So if you're going to read your section 3 sa second paragraph, pwede siya ma-appoint as member and there's no need for confirmation by the Commission on Appointments. Okay? So pwede mo siyang i-appoint without need of going to the COA confirmation aspect. Okay? So yun yung qualifications. Now, of course, the next question is, ang pinaka-paborito, nga pala, before we go back, okay? So, syempre, ang term niya 6 years, di ba? Ang vice president can run again, so pwede siya mag-serve ng 12 years, okay? Tapos, note nyo lang you note the provision you note yung provision sa section 4 on paano kung ma-interrupt yung term. Okay? So, sa local government, alam naman natin sa local government, pag na-interrupt yung term, depending on the guidelines sa Abundo versus Comelec, pwede kang impliedly magtumakbo ulit even if you would go past the 3-year term limit. Okay? Pero note niyo yung section, yung related na parang similar provision sa section 4 Article 7. Okay, so no person who has succeeded as president and has served as such for more than 4 years shall be qualified for election to the same office at any time. Okay? So, important yung tingnan to kasi may aspects to. So, for example, naalala nyo na si President GMA, di ba? Si President GMA, nagdi siyang president after nung EDSA 2. Okay, so, ang term niya, it took her 3 years, di ba? So, 1998 yung election, so, January 20, 2001, yung assumption from office. So, within siya dun sa 4-year period. So, pwede siyang tumakbo ulit. Okay? Pwede siyang tumakbo ulit as a full-term president. Pero kung let's say 2028, tumakbo si 2040 na lang. O sige, sabihin natin 2040. Nanalo si Bimbi na presidente. The next day, unfortunately, nawala si Bimbi, di ba? Oh, sorry idol ko kasi si Bimbi Sorry Pero, di ba? Sabihin na natin na si Bimbi biglang incapacitate or whatever. Okay? Knock on wood. So, ang vice president niya was let's say ang vice president niya was si Paul Artadi. Okay? Kasi press friend siya ni James Yap Ang tanong, pwede pa ba tumakbo si Paul? Ang answer doon is hindi na. Kung more than doon na sa 4-year threshold, okay? So, for example, yun nga, June 30, na-inaugurate, namatay after 1 month. Yung vice president, hindi na pwedeng tumakbo. Hindi na barred na siya for running. Kasi, considered na yung 4-year, there's this consideration of the 4-year requirement. Okay? So, alright. So, note nyo lang sa section 4, yung last section na yan. Actually, wala pa nagtatanong yan sa bar exam kung tutusin. Okay, so, of course, nakalagay din sa Constitution yung instructions sa Board of Canvassers as to President and Vice President. So, ang Board of Canvassers natin would be Congress. Okay, napansin nyo naman yan nung last election ni BBM, di ba? So, Kongreso yung nagkaroon, it's Congress who canvass the votes for President and Vice President. Of course, itatransmit na ng Congress, but the Congress is going to canvass it by way of a joint session. Okay? So, joint session yan. Alright? Okay. Okay, so now, let's go now to, of course, termination of office. Kasi lagi na lang termination of office yung pinag-uusapan lagi pag presidente. Favorite nga, resign, di ba? So, yan, ito na naman tayo sa termination of office. Okay? So of course, under the Constitution, we have modes of termination of office. So, of course, number one is death. Obvious naman ang death, di ba? Siyempre, pag natsugi si president nyo, siyempre, papalit si vice president, di ba? So, wala talaga mangyayari, di ba? Ano yan, it's a natural thing, okay? Then we have, okay, resignation. Huli ko si resignation, okay? So we have also incapacity. So, ano ibig sabihin ng incapacity? Hindi mo kaya ng so for example, kasi yung incapacity kasi would cover situations which are, detrimental events, but short of death. Kasi yung death, walang problem patay na yung tao Pero syempre, like, paano ba wala ka pa kasi tayong ganyan sa Pilipinas. But if you can recall, di ba, sa Israel years ago, si Ariel Sharon biglang na stroke. Okay? So, officially, incapacitated siya. So, noong una, ginawan lang acting si Ehud Olmert as Prime Minister. Then eventually, they declared na incapacitated na si Sharon. So, naging ng full Prime Minister si Olmert after that. Okay? Parang ganun din yan. It's something which is short of death. Diba? Kasi isa na stroke. Buhay pa rin yun technically. Sa atin kasi, di ba, sa Israel is parliamentary syempre, pwedeng mag-move yung parliament to change the prime minister di ba, because of the incapacity. The problem is, paano pag presidente? Di ba, syempre, magde-declare ka ng incapacity. Paano bigla na stroke po? Di ba? But there is a requirement kasi under the law, okay? So, di ba, if you can recall our section 11, okay? Ang section 11 is yung requirement ng written declaration pag unable siya to discharge the powers and duties of your office. Okay? But, of course, syempre, pag din-discharge mo yon, magiging acting president si vice president. But, sa totoo lang, walang issue kung paano kung nga na-stroke nga bigla, naging siyang vegetable. Actually, naging problem din naman yan, even in America. And I think, medyo sinolve naman na nila yan dyan sa incapacity issue. But naalala ko noon in America, we have si Woodrow Wilson. Nasobrahan siya sa campaign sa Treaty of Versailles. Na-stroke siya. So parang for the remaining 1.5 years of his term, incapacitated siya. But this was the time na hindi alam ng Congress or hindi din alam ng executive department, ng mga cabinet niya, anong gagawin? Kasi nga, hindi mo naman pwedeng palitan agad ni Vice President, di ba? Buhay pa yung tao di ba? So, actually, kaya yan nga yung issue, di ba? Lately do sa mga designated survivor discussions. That's the issue kasi dahil walang clear na designated survivor discussions. Sa totoo lang, mas maganda pa si local government code. Kasi clear si local government code Diba sa local government code, pag nawala yung example, yung mayor, mag-assume yung vice mayor, tapos may hierarchy Tapos syempre subject to the qualifications na kailangan matira pa rin yung party composition at the time of the election. But mas maganda yung succession policy sa LGC compared sa constitution natin on the president. It's kind of a little bit, very much vague. So kaya nga nagpo-propose nga na magkaroon sana ng mga laws involving succession. Baka naman iniisip nyo kakanood yan ng Koreano, 'di ba? Kasi 'di ba si Designated Survivor is a Korean drama, pero we can discuss it on a more practical level play. Kasi ang dami na nangyari, like example in kay sa ano sa kay President Estrada. We'll go to President Estrada. Then of course we have impeachment. Okay? So pag na-impeach yung president, not necessarily impeachment, pag na-remove siya, okay? So remember, the Congress will impeach the impeachable officer, particularly the president or vice president. After they impeach the vice president through a vote of one-third, they're going to transmit the articles of impeachment to the Senate for an impeachment trial. It is if and when the Senate now decides to vote two-thirds of for impeachment, that's the time that impeachment that the president would be removed from office. Okay. Okay. Now let's go back to resignation and a little bit with incapacity, because this issue arose from the case of President Erap Estrada. So I think we kind of mentioned a while back about about the situation in EDSA 2, okay, in EDSA 2. So the question is, did Erap really resign? The answer there is no. Didn't really resign. Wala naman tayo nakitang resignation letter siyang I resign eh. Di ba? Hindi naman siya nag-declare ng I resign. Buti pa yung fake GMA sa Saido, nag-resign siya nung pinaresign siya ni Kumalay R. Di ba? Shout out sa GMA for that, okay? So, alam mo yun, at least you have an express declaration, be it oral or written. Di ba? Na nag-resign ka, ayoko na. Or parang sa wrestling, di ba? Kung nanood kayo ng WWE, di ba? Meron silang parang I quit match. Di ba? Sisigaw, I quit. Di ba? Wala man lang sinabi si Erap na I quit. Okay? Let's be clear about that. Wala siyang sinabi na I quit, I resign, whatever. Okay? Remember that nung nagkakagulo na inaugurate na si PGMA, pumunta siya sa likod ng Malacanang, nag-release na siya ng statement na parang nagre-relinquish siya, although yung relinquishment niya is a little bit vague. Okay? If you're going to read it, a little bit vague, but parang ayaw niya nang sa pasto, di ba? Pero vague pa rin dahil wala naman siya sinabing resign eh. Hindi ba naman siya sinabing nag-quit na siya, di ba? So, kasi di ba nangyari after nung inaugurate si PGMA, a few days later, nag-submit ng letter bigla si Erap na I am invoking itong constitutional provisions, Article 7, Section 11, incapacitated ako acting president si PGMA. So, nagkaroon ng Estrada versus Arroyo and Estrada versus Desierto. Kaya nagkaroon ng, kasi remember, di ba, if you can recall, remember that, and the reason why we had this impeachment trials because, di ba, may mga questions as to wetting money, di ba? Lumabas si Governor Singson exposing him, di ba? So if you can recall that, di ba? Yung so yun yung so in-expose, di ba, ni Singson yung yung kanyang alleged wetting involvement. So, di ba, after niya maalis, di ba, na kaso siya ng plunder. Di ba? Nagdire-diretso yung kaso niya eh, di ba? So, this is one of the reasons kaya nagkaroon ng Estrada versus Arroyo kasi medyo na-railroad na yung kanyang case. Okay? So, what happened was, medyo na-railroad na niya yung case, di ba? So, nagfile nga siya ng petition. Okay? So, ang naging question ngayon is, ano status ng legitimacy ng Arroyo administration? Number 2, kasi syempre, yung magiging issue, legitimacy ng Arroyo administration, acting lang ba siya or hindi na siya, or naging na siyang successor? Okay. Now, ito yung mga cases wherein, number 1, this is just my point, okay? Ito yung mga cases wherein sometimes the Supreme Court has to do wonders, okay? Note that at sa point of view ng mga, remember that sa Estrada versus Arroyo, if you can recall what happened in January 20, there was an involvement of 2 particular figures why PGMA was sworn in. There were 2 justices that were involved. Okay? And based na sa story niya dun sa kanyang memoirs, okay? Yung parang mga collection of speeches, 'di ba? si Chief Justice ABP, si Panganiban, they kind of discussed this they kind of discussed in a flash na we have to declare PGMA as we have to swear in PGMA, di ba? Siyempre for the stability of the country and all of those reasons. Ngayon, here comes ERAP saying na acting president lang siya. Siyempre, kung ang gagawin ng Supreme Court would be, if the Supreme Court would decide in favor of ERAP, so what I'm saying is, this is where the political inkling or the political factor would enter into the picture. Kasi siyempre, kung pro and public officers lang ang pag-uusapan natin, di ba? Hindi siya nag-resign, di ba? Linaw-linaw din yan kahit in other cases nang decided by the Supreme Court. So, di ba, if you can recall Ortiz versus Comelec, kung hindi voluntary resignation mo, hindi yung resignation. Yun ang sinasabi sa Ortiz eh. And I think that still stands, okay, si Ortiz versus Comelec. But the problem is we are in a peculiar situation, okay, wherein, although, well, President Estrada may, I'm not saying he's right, he may be right, but, political considerations would make him wrong or his argument would not hold water. Okay, so anong ginawa ng Supreme Court? So, they created this concept of constructive resignation. Okay, so sinasabi nila na for purposes of ERAP, for purposes of what happened during the change of regime from ERAP to PGMA, ERAP constructively resigned. Yun ang sinabi ng Supreme Court. Siyempre, nag-inhibit si Chief Justice Davide at saka si AVP at the time. Pero sabi ng Supreme Court, and I think unanimous naman sila, may mga separate opinions lang yung iba, pero unanimous naman sila na quote-unquote constructively resign si ERAP because of the accompanying acts and circumstances. So, in order to justify that, they used the diary of then Executive Secretary, I think at the time, si Edgardo Angara. Diba? So, may anthology yun nung ano nangyari nung last 5 days niya. So, pag binasa niya anthology na yun, meron yun na para sabi ni Erap, di ko na kaya. Hirap na ako. Diba? Sabi daw ni Erap yun dun sa diary. Di Angara. So, yun yung naging basis nila. Then, of course, they considered all of the acts. Yung nagsulat siya ng statement bago siya umalis sa likod ng Pasig River. They scrutinized the statements and they said that although it did not say resign, it is a relinquishment of his power. Okay? Kasi may sinasabi na siyang for reconciliation and for peace and all for parang healing of the nation, etc., etc. They considered it already as evidence that the president that he is giving up the position. Okay, so nangyari, they considered the totality of circumstances. Okay? So, ang tanong dyan is, does it change the fact na ang requisite na resignation should be voluntary? Oo naman, hindi, voluntary pa naman requirement ng resignation. Pag di ka voluntary, especially sa civil service, pag medyo in-involuntary ka sa resignation, pwede mong questionin yun because it would violate your security of tenure. But note that ERAP is not a mere ordinary appointee ng CSE. Note na elected public officer siya. Okay? Although, syempre, yung operation ng kanya salary is CSE. But at the end of the day, it's still the majority, it's still the electors, the people. Allegedly. Well, yes, their say or magkakaroon ng papasok pa rin yung political factors. Diba? So, nangyari sa kanya na political factors naman talaga siya doon. Diba? Well, eventually, mukhang nag-kiss and makeup naman sila ni PGMA. Binigyan nga ng pardon eh. Diba? So, mukhang nag-kiss and makeup naman sila. So, there's that. Okay? So, but of course, yun yung discussion. There is an emphasis on resignation. Number 2, hindi siya incapacitated per se. Diba? Kasi, hindi niya pwedeng hindi niya pwedeng invoke na incapacitated siya, 'di ba? Kasi lumalabas nga nagkaroon ng uprising eh, 'di ba? So you cannot say that he is incapacitated for any rhyme or reason. Okay? All right. Okay. So all right. Now let's go to other points of of the president vice president. So compensation package, ibabasahin niyo sa salary standardization laws, siya pinakamataas. Okay? Siya pinakamataas. Kaya nga, kahit sa, for purposes of plaka, di ba, sa LTO, siya number 1. Okay? So, si President, I think, SG33 yata or 30. Basta siya ang pinaka-highest. Okay? No one will go above him. Of course, yung adjustments ng SSL and particularly subsequent laws increasing salaries will also be applicable to the President. Okay, and the vice president, as the case may be. Okay, then privileges and prohibitions. Okay, so prohibited officers. Okay, so I think we kind of discussed this, lumabas nga sa bar, di ba, yung prohibited officers. Hindi mo pwedeng i-appoint yung na-elect na senator kahit nag-resign siya. Basta hindi ka pwedeng magkaroon ng appointment as to the office, 'di ba? So limitations 'yon. That's one limitation. Pero syempre yung direct limitations ng direct limitations sa officers, okay? Syempre pasok pa rin si nepotism. Syempre, si Article 59 section, I cannot recall the section. Basta doon sa particularly Article 15 on the civil service provision rules sa revised administrative. Syempre, applicable pa rin yan kasi babalik tayo sa impeachment. Pwede kasing culpable violation of the Constitution yun or can be a crime, di ba? So kasi may penal provision ng nepotism under the revised administrative code, if you can recall, okay? Then we have prohibited appointments, okay? We have prohibited appointments. But before we go to prohibited appointments, so aside from prohibited officers, okay, meron din tayo tatag na prohibited offices. Okay, so ano yung prohibited offices? If you can recall again yung sa discussion natin sa legislative department, di ba? When we speak of prohibited offices, okay, ito yung mga bagay na hindi pwedeng i-appoint ng presidente or hindi pwedeng i-assume ng presidente while in service, okay? So, kung sa legislative department, little bit relative kasi may incompatible ka at may prohibition, may incompatibility ka at may prohibition ka. Pero sa presidente as chief executive, it's total prohibition. So, hindi ka pwede maging lawyer, hindi ka pwede mag-engage hindi ka pwede mag-artista, di ba? Pag presidente ka lang, okay? You cannot moonlight into another office or you cannot assign yourself. But of course, may limitations 'yan. Syempre, ang limitation niyan is, example, yung presidente, pwede niya appoint yung sarili niya as cabinet secretary. Pwede naman 'yun. Like, 'di ba si BBM inappoint niya yung sarili niya as agriculture, 'di ba? That's possible because note that ano ba ang presidente? Siyempre, presidente is yung head of state. Your cabinet members are your alter egos. So technically, in theory, except unless there is grave abuse of discretion, pwede niyang i-override yung mga department secretaries niya, di ba? Kasi siya yung siya kasi head of state. Yung mga cabinet secretaries niya are their mere alter egos, okay? In theory, they can do that. Of course, that's within the limitations as provided for by our administrative law. Yun lang naman ang magiging issue doon eh. Pero for all intents and purposes, kung pwedeng mag-act si president directly doon sa cabinet offices niya. Okay? But other than that, hindi siya pwedeng magprofesyon, hindi siya pwedeng mag-appoint ng may conflict of interest. Okay? Those are prohibitions in his office. Okay? Now, of course, prohibited appointments, di ba? So, may limitations kasi sa appointments. So, mapag-uusapan natin so later we're going to discuss isa sa power niya is the appointing power. Okay? Pero may mga limitations yan. So, Ano itong prohibited appointments na tinatawag natin? Kung naalala niyo, if you can recall the old case of Aitona versus Castillo, di ba? This is a 1962 case, di ba? Because this was the time where, well, siguro pissed off General tuloy, not General, pissed off si outgoing President Carlos P. Garcia. Ginawa niya before mag-end yung term niya, nag-appoint siya ng mga cabinet secretaries. Just to spite Macapagal. Okay? So yung Aitona versus Castillo, it's the central bank kasi. It's a battle of being central bank governor. So, naalala ko noon naging prof ko yun sa persons. Kasi diniscuss namin tong Aitona before sa persons. Ang prof ko dati si the late Judge Virgilio Gismundo, he was previously Dean of Arellano bago siya na-appoint as judge sa Calamba. Tapos unfortunately, he died a few months into his service because of COVID. Okay? Isa siya sa mga una na biktima ng COVID, if I can recall. Hindi pa nga siya nakakatagal sa Calamba mag-serve noon as family court. So, alala ko noon, isa yun sa mga favorite cases niya when we discuss human relations. Kasi lagi niyang tinatanong sa amin noon dati. Bakit in violation of Article 19 yung appointment? Pareho namang qualified si Aitona at si Castillo. Kasi, mga talaga yan mga bankers daw yung mga yan. They are experts in that field. Okay? Ine-emphasize siya na hindi kasi tama yung change ng appointments sa point of view ng human relations. Kasi, biglaan parang hindi pa nahimas-masan si Macapagal, meron ka ng cabinet secretaries na bago. Diba? So yun yung agad yung nag-intrigue. So, it's not in keeping with decency. Yun na sinasabi nila. But at the same time, on the discussion on constitutional limitations, diba? Hindi ka pwedeng sinabi na wala, pero remember that nung 1962, wala pa namang constitutional prohibitions noon. It was just that it was indicated in your Article 7, section, if I can recall it correctly, tingnan na lang natin. Diba? So, Section 15, diba? Sa Section 15, hindi ka pwedeng mag-appoint 2 months immediately preceding. Kasi doon nangyari, parang December 20 na, nag-appoint siya ng cabinet si Garcia ng time na yun. So, nagbabawalan na magkaroon ng appointments at least before 2 months from the election. Okay? So, at least 2 months, baga matatapos yung term niya, at least 2 months, hindi ka na pwedeng mag-appoint. Okay? So that's what happened, di ba? So hindi ka na pwede mag-appoint, okay? So yun yung mga limitations doon, di ba? So then of course we have presidential immunity, okay? So ano ang ruling natin sa presidential immunity? Okay? Kasi well, a little bit settled na siya sa De Lima versus Duterte. I think that's although the circumstances of the case is not, it's not historically good, di ba? Kasi alam naman natin yung history ni De Lima at ni Duterte, okay? But insofar as jurisprudential holdings or jurisprudential determination is concerned, I think this is a fair decision naman. Kasi well, it started kasi also with the Estrada versus Arroyo thing, like yung case. Kasi nagkaroon ng issue dun sa immunity ni ERAP. Okay? So, the Supreme Court kind of discussed a lot of American jurisprudence. Well, it's a good discussion because it's an extensive discussion on the history of presidential immunity, of presidential or executive immunity with respect to the United States. Okay? So, pero sa De Lima versus Duterte, it's just plain and simple. Okay? Note that, of course, si presidential immunity, walang nakalagay yan sa Constitution. Okay? Wala yung nakalagay sa Constitution. But this is more of a custom or a traditional, this is more on tradition on the part of the office. Okay? So kahit nan sa constitution yan, pwede ka pa na mag-invoke ng presidential immunity. In as much as also, di ba, sa PIL, meron tayong tatawag na state immunity, di ba? So, meron ding immunity si presidente locally. Kasi kung meron siya immunity, di ba, as a head of state, it also follows na may immunity siya. Siyempre, ang rational dyan is, of course, if the president will be burdened from suits, di ba, left and right, paano ka, how are you going to, be, how are you going to exercise your official functions if you're being bothered by a lot of suits, di ba? Kaya nga nangyayari na nga lang, di ba, ang presidente, pag napikon ka na lang, resign na lang lagi dinidemand mo. Pero hindi mo basta-basta pwede makasuhan kasi nakaupo siya sa pwesto eh. 'Di ba? That's part of that's the part of the nature of the office eh, 'di ba? Talagang magiging subject ka ng criticism din naman. So expect that you're going to be filed a case. Now, sa De Lima versus Duterte, they clarified that, well, insofar as the Philippines is concerned, we speak of absolute immunity regardless. Now, if there would be a discussion siguro on immunity after, kasi dun sa Estrada versus Arroyo, there was this discussion on ano mangyari pag wala na sa office. Pwede na bang kasuhan, 'di ba? Pwede bang maging liable even for civil damages arising. Kasi para lumalabas sa mga cases sa US like si Clinton versus Jones or si Nixon versus Fitzgerald, pwede kang mag-sue after the office, okay? Pero sa Pilipinas, regardless kung as long as it comes into this rational materiae, 'di ba? Or yung official functions ng presidente, immune ka dun sa acts na yun. In theory, okay? Immune ka dun, okay? You're going to be immune from suit, okay? Kaya nga, a little bit of a challenge yan sa ICC cases din. Kasi, okay, international crimes, I think we have established it naman. Pag ang crimes mo, international crimes, like let's say, genocide, siyempre hostes humanis generis yan. Pero, magkakaroon siya ng conflict or interplay or possible, parang clash between these immunities, di ba? Magkakaroon ng clash yan sa immunities kasi tulad yan, di ba? Kung ikaw yung kung if you want to make it sa national argument, you can insist that walang jurisdiction si ICC or anybody, di ba? Anybody that may want to exercise jurisdiction. Kasi paano kung ang kinakasawa mo presidente, di ba? Magkakaroon ka ng immunity. And note that under our laws, under our current structure, absolute immunity ang presidente. And kahit na sabihin mong hindi siya absolute immunity, like if the immunity is just functional or relative or ano lang siya, rational materia nga siya sa Latin, di ba? Kung functional lang yung immunity niya at hindi siya blanket, di ba? Magkakaroon ka din ng issue kasi paano sabihin mo within your official functions yan, di ba? Kasi more or less naman kung yung ano naman gawin ng presidente, kung kasi yung official functions niya, dapat sakop ng immunity yon. Okay? But right now, in the case of De Lima versus Duterte, it's clear that the immunity is absolute. Okay? So, yun yung ruling. They readopted, I think, the old case of yung si Chua Tiaco na case yun. It was si Forbes versus Chua Tiaco. So, it's a very old 1900 kopong-kopong case involving Governor General Forbes, okay? So, yun yung pa rin. Our doctrine in immunity is absolute. Kaya nga 'di ba, hindi mo pwedeng even in a petition, 'di ba? Si KMU versus Aquino. Diba? I think nandito sa nasa slide si KMU versus Aquino, okay? So, example, si KMU versus Aquino, okay? So, sabi sa KMU versus Aquino, and of course, this was reiterated dun sa De Lima versus Duterte, the president cannot be charged with any suit, criminal or civil or criminal in nature during his or incumbency of office. So, this is in line with the doctrine of the president's immunity from suit. The rationale of the grant of the president the privilege of immunity from suit is to assure the exercise of presidential duties and functions free from any hindrance of distraction considering that being the chief executive of the government is a job that, aside from requiring all of the office holders' time, also demands its undivided attention. Okay? All right. So that's your so that's your presidential immunity. Okay? Um, so that will be for the qualification and other functions of of the president. So we're going to discuss next on the powers of the president itself. Okay?